And welcome to another episode of Stories from a Bar. I'm your host, Chris Osborne. For this episode, I'm hanging out with Scott Womer. Am I saying that correctly?
You sure are.
Excellent. I keep forgetting if I kept forgetting if there was an R in there or not. I'm like, no, there's no R. Womer.
No, no.
How are you? How are you doing, sir?
I'm great. I'm doing great. How are
Welcome.
you?
I'm good. I appreciate you taking the time to hang out and chat.
Yeah, yeah, I've been looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah, we were just talking about we were just talking about pretty much the change of season. We were talking about fixing the heater before we got started.
Yeah,
Your electric heater, but I spend half my time teleworking, pretty much sitting right where I am now. This
yep,
room, the vent isn't as good as the rest of the house, so I'll be
right.
cold during the day. But if I'm doing a podcast in here, I need to turn the heat down because then I just start sweating my balls
Yeah,
off. Quite honestly, when I'm doing these interviews, like part out of being nervous, just because that's public speaking isn't my favorite thing, and having to hear myself and
right.
not wanting to look like a fool. So I think that increases the heat.
And that's why you started a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's helped me battle that fear.
that's right. That's right. Good for you.
There's a lot of stuff to talk about. But as usual, one of the first things I like to do on these episodes, I like to have a beer. Um, and I like to talk about that just a little bit. For this episode, I am drinking some Common Roots Affinity
Mm,
Bound Double IPA. It's actually my second episode in a row when I went with Common Roots. And I didn't even realize that when I came across this beer. I'm like, ooh, that looks tasty. And I don't think I've had that one.
right.
But yeah, I'm a big Common Roots fan. This one's quite delicious for me. Of course, they're based up in Glens Falls. I like to support the local places when it comes to drinking my beers and stuff like that. And shame on me, I still haven't been to the Albany location since they've taken it over, and
Mm,
I feel like a
yeah,
jerk. Got to get over there. Big city's a bit of a drive, man. I live in
it
Schenectady.
is. It is. It is. Well, it's funny because you're drinking a Glens Falls beer, and I'm actually drinking the Johnsbrook Hazy IPA from Mean
Oh, Mean
Max,
Max.
which is
Okay.
out of Glens Falls, but I went a couple blocks down here in Troy to their Troy location.
I
Um,
think I've only had like one of their beers, which I remember being pretty good. But how was that one? That's not one I've had.
I think it's great. I think it's great. There's a Lake Terror of the Clouds Imperial, I think, IPA that I usually get, and I tried this one today, and I think it's great. And actually, this is kind of a good moment to say that an official thing that has not been announced, but I'll announce it here, which is that Mean Max has now become the official brewery for Song City events.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they will be at each Song City serving up cold cans of good beer.
Sounds like
So
I
we're
need to
excited
make that
about
my
that.
next episode then.
Yep, they're
Reach out to them.
great. They really are a
Now,
great, great brewery. And the downtown Troy one, um, Liz and all the other people there are amazing as bartenders. They've got this really great vintage pinball machine collection there of about 20 different ones that keep getting swapped out. They kind
that
of
sounds
bring in a
awesome.
bunch of pinball guys, and
Oh man, I love pinball.
um, it's great. And one of the quietest trivias I've ever been to.
Really?
They're just so polite, and uh, yeah, it's quite the scene. So
Because yeah, because
here's to Mean Max.
yes, cheers to Common Roots and Mean Max. You mentioned the Troy Tap Room. I haven't been in there. I went to the farmers market last year or the year before. I know I've walked by it and I've been meaning to go in there. But they are based farther up north, right? Are they out? They're out of Glens Falls.
They are at a Glens Falls.
Okay,
Yep,
okay, that's what I
yep,
thought. Yeah, because
yep.
I follow them on social media, uh, so I kind of keep track of what they have going on. But yeah, I'm gonna need to reach out to them and get more involved.
Yeah, yeah, they're great. Great people, great beer.
Um, Song City's the big thing we're gonna talk about. I know we've been in touch for a little while. I've known about Song City for a little while, but quite honestly, I don't know anything about you. So I thought that might be a good place to start before we jump into Song City and the next version of that you have coming up on November 11th, which is going to have an awesome lineup.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so do you live in Troy? Are you from
I
the
do.
area?
Yeah, I am. Yes, grew up south of Albany in a little town called Furabush, which is out in the
Okay.
woods.
Yep.
You know, 50 acres of woods, and uh, my sister, parents, and I just hanging out there. So yeah, grew up in the Albany area, and spent most of my life in the Capital District. There was a period of time in the 90s, maybe early to mid 90s, where I moved down to Nashville for about 5 years, and worked for a record label down there, doing different kinds of marketing and that kind of work. um, and that was really kind of the first time that I really experienced a true music scene. Growing up, out in the country, you know, we didn't. I can remember I grew up as a drummer, and trying to get together with friends when everybody lives out in the woods and miles from each other
Not
was
as
always
easy to
kind of
do.
a it wasn't easy to do, and there weren't places to play and that kind of thing. So moving to Nashville was the complete opposite, obviously, where there was music every night in every place. I joke about the fact that you walk down Broadway in Nashville, and it's just bars on either side, and all you see is just the backside of drummers in the windows, for 3 blocks or something like that. I wonder if the drummers think through that as far as what they're wearing and that kind of thing, because they're
I need to
definitely
look good from the back.
from the back. Yeah. But so yeah, I moved down there mostly because I was interested in getting more involved with music, and and really wanted to learn more about it and kind of be really infused into that kind of setting. Um, Not necessarily because I was an artist at that point and wanted to make it, but more I just wanted to kind of figure out from the pros, and the people that are just working it every day, you know, how to go about doing that. So lived there for 5 or 6 years, and worked for a label down there, and doing marketing and that kind of work and sales. And really, that was the first point where I started kind of dipping my toes into some songwriting and going to a lot of local clubs
Mhm.
and songwriting events and things like that. Um, One of my favorite places was a place called the Bluebird Cafe,
Oh, yeah,
which
that
will
one, well known.
is extremely well known, is legendary. So many artists have kind of been discovered there, mostly because it's a songwriting based venue, as opposed to like a big performance venue. It's mostly done in the round, meaning four songwriters or whatever in the round, going around and talking about their songs. A lot of them weren't even artists; they were um, songwriters that were working for publishing companies, um, because that's a lot of the work down there is not necessarily being an artist, but being a great songwriter and working for a publishing company. And that way, when the Taylor Swifts are looking for a song, well, that's not a good example because she really writes hers, but any of the other
Yeah,
artists,
yeah.
that don't write their own and they're looking for songs, they're going to go to the publishing company. Publishing company is going to send them a bunch of songs to look at, and they're going to begin picking and choosing songs for the album based on that. So most of the people that were playing at that point at the Bluebird Cafe were actually those types of writers. So you didn't really necessarily know the name, but as soon as they started playing the songs, you realized that they were, hit writers, of songs that you'd been listening to forever. Um, so that was really my first introduction to um, real songwriting and events and venues that were really celebrating songwriters. And that really comes then full circle to where I'm at now and running Song City and working with songwriters is really inspired by that time.
Fascinating. I know, well, I haven't been to Nashville, but I know Bluebird Cafe mainly thanks to Foo Fighters when they did their Sonic Highways documentary, one of the
Yes, that's
songs.
right.
Yeah. Watching that when it was on HBO, Dave Grohl went and played a song there. One of the songs is about like the history that he wrote there. Like it's
Yeah.
super fascinating. And honestly, one of my I still right now my goal is to go down to Nashville for a World Cup game next summer.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna
Yeah.
go, make it a 3-day weekend, do a World Cup game. Like, I have a half brother that lives in Alabama. I forgot the name of the town, but it's only like it's less than a 3 hour drive for him. So the
Yeah.
plan is to meet up with him and just rock out in Nashville with soccer and booze and music. Really,
Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of all of that.
yeah. No, but that's awesome. Yeah, that's fascinating. That so do you? When did you get into playing instruments? Because you play guitar, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I grew up as a drummer, and then um, I think at around ninth grade or so, I started making the switch over to guitar only because, when you're living half mile up a dirt road, there's only so many people you can play with, you know what I
Hmm.
mean, instead of just playing in the basement. And I decided I needed an instrument that I could sit outside on the picnic table and play and satisfy that. So yeah, started playing guitar and really kind of stuck with guitar for the rest of my time there. And that's as I started doing more songwriting, a little bit in Nashville, but a lot more once I came back here. Yeah, I was writing primarily on guitar.
What made you leave Nashville then to come back?
You know what? It was a mixture of things, but it was primarily family based.
Okay.
There were just I was married at the time, and both our families were from this area, from the Albany area, and there were health things going on in our family, and there were nieces and nephews growing up, and all those types of things. And it was time to come back and be part of family, and
Oh yeah.
and do the important things.
Yeah, I fully get that. I'm from Schenectady area. I lived in South Carolina for between 5 and 6 years, and ended up moving back up here for the whole family scenario thing, kind of like what you talked
Yeah.
about. But I enjoyed the South, but yeah, man, I got to get down to Nashville.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, and we
That
have
is,
so many artists now, which is interesting that our local music scene has, gotten to the point now where, hearing that another local artist is moving down to Nashville to, get their feet wet down there is becoming a pretty normal thing. I try to go down whenever I can and just kind of reconnect with our songwriters and find out how it's going, how their experience has been, and
yeah.
they're doing great.
And
They're
one of them will.
doing
I know Ryan Clark, one of the people you have scheduled for SongCity November 11th, moved down to Nashville. He
Yeah.
was, and we'll talk about him a little more, but he was. I had to look back at my podcast history. He was actually the first local musician I had on the podcast
Oh, really?
back in
You
the
know what?
early
I
days.
did hear that. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
With
You've had a few Song City people on there.
yeah,
You had TJ was on, right?
yeah,
TJ
I've
Foster,
become pretty good friends with the
Sydney.
Erie guys.
Yep.
Sydney, I had on when she was. We talked with uh, no one you know. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Keith, who runs that, when they were getting ready to do a Taylor Swift emo cover night at the
Right.
Hollow. That was fun.
Yep.
We have such a great, rich music scene. It's crazy. And that's why I like it. But I want to give a special shout out to Ryan because he was on the podcast, first musician I've had on the podcast. That was back in 2018, before I
Yeah.
even knew what I was doing. Not that I do now. Uh, but we'll talk about that more in a little bit. So you come back to New York after spending this time learning uh, basically the music business and songwriting, talking to these people down in Nashville.
Yeah.
How long were you back in New York before this Song City idea started to take shape?
I think it was probably about 10 years or so. I think that I was back here in town, and during that time I was actually working for a couple local churches in the area, that were trying to upgrade their music and their ability to use the arts and media, in order to be more effective at what they were doing. And so I worked for a couple different churches doing that, kind of running the arts side of what they were doing. So I was working with filmmakers and graphic designers and musicians and sound techs and um, all sorts of people. And it was incredibly satisfying, because it gave me a chance to kind of invest into other people and to give people opportunities, which really is very similar to what what Song City is about also, is you're investing into the people, and then you're also helping the larger group of people. If it's in the church, it's the congregation. If it's in the local music scene, it's the audience. And you're trying to kind of expose good things to them, and at the same time invest into the artists themselves. So that was really a pretty important part of kind of getting to where I am now. And it was about I think it was right during COVID that right around 2020 that I started doing more music, only because, like a lot of us, we were stuck at home and it was
Hmm.
time to kind of experiment with things we had wanted to do. And I had a small studio in my apartment here in Troy, and uh, wrote and recorded a an album that I felt really good about, and put that out as a 4 song EP. I was going under the moniker of Fenton Hardy,
Yep.
was my musical name, and did that, and really what happened as I put that album out, I realized I don't know a lot of musicians here. I really don't know what I'm doing. I've been in the music world for a long time, but not supporting my own music. So I don't really know what I'm doing. I wish there was a community of people that I could reach out to and say, how do I go about marketing this? How do I go about, where do I play? What are the venues? All that kind of thing. Um, and that's really what Song City birthed for me, was just that desire to be in community with other people and to be supporting other artists, and trying to get everybody in the same place and working together, because I found out that's what I needed, so I'm assuming that's what other people needed. um, and that's kind of how Song City started, was just talking to other artists and remembering back to the great experiences that I'd had in Nashville, especially at the Bluebird, and listening to all these different artists talk about their songs and talk about their songwriting. Um, and thought, wouldn't it be interesting to see, you know, what would happen in a place like Troy in the Capital District if they had opportunities like that. And there are plenty of places. I mean, there are
Hmm.
hundreds of places they can play where they're doing that. It wasn't like I was the first person to ever do that. But we can always use more. Um, and so I decided, yeah, let's see what happens if we start inviting some artists to come in that same kind of Bluebird Nashville Song Circle type of format. The only thing that I really wanted to change from that, or at least the most important thing, was that I really wanted more genres involved. I really wanted more styles represented. So not just folk and country singers like they had mostly at the Bluebird,
Yeah.
but to also have rock artists and hip hop artists and instrumental artists and improvisational artists and all these different kinds of genres that are all really great songwriters. Because I think that they needed to be represented in those types of situations too. And I think that our local audiences need to hear, from all of these different voices and different genres. So um, that's kind of how then Song City started about I guess 4 years ago. So
Yeah, no, that's fascinating because yeah, Albany has such a rich musical culture, and not even in just a single genre. It's super diverse. There, as you
yeah.
mentioned, there's a lot of places. But Song City, November 11th, the Waiting Room in Troy, New York, is the next upcoming event. This one features Girl Blue, who's fantastic.
Mhm.
Ryan Clark, like I said, I've had him on the podcast. Super nice dude. Camtron 5000, Sabrina Trueheart, names I know, I follow on social media. I had not listened to prior, had a chance to listen to prior to us talking about the upcoming Salt City, and
Mhm.
me wanting to check that, make sure I listen to them before this. And they're fantastic too. And I'm not even a big hip hop fan, but I can appreciate it when I hear uh, good musicianship or lyrical, I guess, vernacular when it comes to hip hop.
Yeah,
And listening, I think Camtron just came out with an album this year, which I was listening to last night.
yeah,
I'm like, this is solid, man. Like, I'm not even a big hip hop guy, and I'm digging this. Singer songwriters are kind of next to pop punk are my other bread and butter. Uh,
Hmm.
so when I was listening to Sabrina, her songs were fantastic too. Girl Blue, I was a fan from the moment I heard Fire Underwater, which was from her first album,
Sure. Yeah.
uh, which I think might have been back in like 2016, somewhere around there. I have to
Yeah.
look that
Yeah.
up. So I've been following her since then. Songs and so this is an awesome lineup you have coming up November 11th, The Waiting Room in Troy. One thing I wanted to ask you, you're labeling it as season 4, episode 2. What exactly goes into your timetable here when it comes to seasons and episodes? That's one thing I haven't been able to nail down.
Yeah. Yeah. So a season is simply a September to June season,
Okay,
so so this September, this September Song City that just went by was season 4, so it's the fourth year of it. It was going into the fourth year of it. We originally were doing the first 2 to 3 years, or 2.5 years, I guess. We were doing it monthly from September to June. um, and I just found over time that from a marketing standpoint, it was tough um, to go through the marketing cycle for something like that I was doing every single month.
that makes
Um,
sense.
just because I felt like you finished one, and you spend a week kind of talking about your experience at that show, and then it's like a week off, and then you start you know, hitting the pavement to start talking about the next group that's coming up,
Yeah, you're not giving it any time to kind of absorb and let it settle.
Right, right. And it took me a couple of years to figure that out. Um, so about maybe a year or a year and a half ago, I switched over to doing it every other month. So we'll do 6 each year, which gives a little bit more time to kind of uh, you know dwell a little bit on the last one before we jump into pumping up the next one. So yeah, that's what the season is considered.
And it's
Is a
every other
year.
Tuesday, every other month? Is that or every
It's
second
the
Tuesday? I'm sorry.
so it's the second Tuesday every other month. Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
Um, and of course, November 11th, the one coming up, we just mentioned the artist Girl Blue, Ryan Clark, Camtron 5000, Sabrina Trueheart. The Waiting Room in Troy, I wasn't sure where this was. So was this Franklin Alley for people that don't know, or is this
This
in
is
Franklin?
not. This
Because
is
I
in
think you've
Franklin
moved.
Alley.
Okay, because I think you've done these at a couple different places so far, right?
Yeah, we began it at the Ruck, which is on Third Street in Troy. Um, and yeah, it began at the Ruck, and it was there for a couple of years. That was coming out of, like I said, coming out of COVID, and the Ruck was uh, used to do a lot of music, and obviously that tapered down during COVID. And when things kind of lifted, they were ready to do some music again. And Dave Gardell, who's the owner there, came to me just because I live around the corner, and that's kind of my home bar, and
Great
asked if
place.
I'd be oh, it's amazing. It's amazing, amazing bar in Troy in the Capital District.
Yeah, Dave's a super nice
Um,
guy too. I've talked to him.
Absolutely. Yeah. Their beer list is always top of the line. Their food's great. People
Uh,
are wonderful.
ab
But
yeah.
they really wanted to do more music, and he came to me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing maybe some different kind of music things there?" And I shared with him this vision that I'd had for Song City. He said, "Yeah, that sounds great." So we used the second floor of the Ruck, which people don't even know about. There's actually 2 floors above the
Yep.
Ruck, that are really wonderful rooms. And we started there, and that's one of those rooms where you put 50 people in there, and it feels just packed, and the energy is great, and um, almost feels like one of those comedy shows that you see in the city someplace, where you come into these packed little clubs and go upstairs, and you're all squeezed together, and it just creates some really great energy. And I'm just so thankful for the time there. And then a couple of years after that, we moved to the waiting room, which had a little bit more space, and was just a little bit more kind of right in the middle of what was going on, almost kind of a music district, if you will, because you've got No Fun and you've got 518 Craft, you got the music hall, and at the time, um, you also had um, the shoot, what's the name of that place? I'll start this again. What was
I
that?
mean, there's a lot of places over there. Yeah, I can't
But the
even
place I
remember
was
them.
looking for was the place that used to be it's on First. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, I will let's edit that out. So we don't see me
Yeah,
try to figure that out.
it'll
Um,
come to you.
yeah, right, right.
So it was really a good, more central location
It was a really
and
great
larger.
central location. Yeah, and had more space, and also just kind of put us right in with a bunch of other really great music venues in the area, and kind of feed off each other's energy there. So the waiting room is on Franklin Alley, and it's the Franklin Alley section that is between Broadway, kind of like where Donna's is, and Placid Bakery and Bootleggers,
Okay.
and
Oh, yeah, yeah,
River
yeah.
Street, which is kind of where Dutch Udder is, and those spots around the corner there. So it's the one part of Franklin Alley that is kind of all lit up with the white lights and that kind of
Yep.
stuff. But it is not what used to be called Franklin Alley Social Club,
Okay.
which was on the lower part of Franklin Alley. Sometimes people get confused because they hear Franklin Alley, they think it's at the old Social Club,
Yep.
but it's not. Um, and that building is really amazing. It's a three-story building with with this room on the bottom and a stage. It used to actually be a senior citizens activity center. So they have an organ and a stage and a
Oh, wow.
kitchen, and you can just picture tables of people playing bingo and things there, decades ago. And the room just sounds really great. And you just enter right in off the alley. Um, and yeah, it's wonderful. It's got a great feel to it. The owner, Bob Bedard, has been super helpful and super supportive of local music. So we love it there, and it gives us kind of a little bit of room to spread out, fit some more people in.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And what I find, I admittedly haven't been to one of these yet. I've been trying to get to one. Uh, gonna go out of my way to get to this November 11th show for sure. Uh, it's a different concept than seeing these artists perform anywhere else in the area. This is, and I thought about this as I was putting my notes together, because I haven't been to like a roundtable thing. It kind of reminded me. The first thing to pop into my head was like MTV's Unplugged.
Sure.
Uh, you have the artist. It's as almost as intimate as it gets. So this is a kind of a circular setup with the artists sitting in the circle. They'll play a song. They talk about the song, the background, their songwriting process, and you just kind of have the audience sitting there in awe around them. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't get more personal than that if you're going to see an artist you enjoy and watch them play,
Hmm.
and that's awesome.
Yeah, there's something about that environment and kind of being so close together. It's funny, there are times where people are sitting in the front row and they could reach out and just, touch the person's guitar. We're so kind of tight in there. Um, because we really want that environment of that we're all kind of here together, and we just want to hear these people tell their stories and sing their songs. And it's really beautiful how um respectful the crowd is. We're used to going to big shows where people are talking and singing and loud, and at a club, and that's completely appropriate for that setting.
Mhm.
And then there's something very relaxing and peaceful about being in a setting where um I don't know. It's just a different kind of respect where the artist is talking and really telling these super personal stories about why and how they wrote these songs, um, and that actually often turns into discussions amongst the songwriters, and that's one of the really great things about Song City is to hear those types of conversations happen. I admit in the very beginning. I can remember at the first one actually telling the sound technician, like, make sure you mute everybody else's mic when that person's talking so that that person kind of has their moment to talk and it's not distracting. And after the first one, I had someone that was actually in it say to me, you know, I would have loved to kind of conversed more with these other artists about this, but the mic was muted, and I was like, oh, you're right. I didn't even think about that.
Fascinating.
Um, and so from then on, I was like, mics are live all the time, and that leads to really interesting discussions. It's often fun to see. Often there'll be one of the artists that will just naturally kind of take on the role of moderator and just kind of start, asking questions and interviewing the other artists and that kind of thing. Belle Skinner, who's one of my favorite songwriters, has played a couple times at Song City, and she will always take that role of just kind of asking other artists questions. And it also turns into kind of musical collaborations. We've had that multiple times at Song City where not usually planned, but just kind of out of nowhere, all of a sudden, someone will start kind of sitting in and playing with each other. Um, or sing in some backup parts or whatever. And so all those kind of unexpected things I think are kind of fun.
No, and that's awesome, and it's great for the artist, I'm sure, but to be a fan sitting there, if you're a fan of the artist playing, to watch the birth of some kind of collaboration like that, and
Yeah.
then to possibly hear like an official version of it later on down the road. Because when you go to concerts or any kind of concert anywhere, big, small, whatever, a band plays a new song that's not
Mhm.
out yet, and then you hear it on an album or something later. You're like, I was there before that ever came out. That kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. We
So,
actually had a situation just three Song Cities ago or so. Barbie Barker, who's the front woman for Candy Ambulance, which is
yep,
such a great band in the area. And she's just, whether she's rocking out in the trio or just her with acoustic guitar or electric guitar, um, she's just haunting and really really brilliant. And at this one that she did a few months ago. Um, I will always encourage the artist ahead of time, weeks ahead of time. I'll say, play your hits. People love to hear those songs in this kind of a setting and hear the story behind a song that they listen to a lot. But don't be afraid to, play things that maybe haven't been played before or are new or whatever. And she actually sat down and said, I'm about to play a song that I have not actually completed yet, but I'm going to play you what I have so far, So sometimes it's very much on the spot, some of the things that they do.
oh yeah, then that's awesome. And not that uh this is on the same level, but the only thing that I can think of that pops into my mind more immediately is I remember when I lived down south, early 2000s, Good Charlotte was just coming out. Uh,
Mm,
and I'm a big pop punk fan. Went to go see them in Charlotte, actually. And they played one of their biggest hits, "Young and Hopeless," before that ever came out on an album.
mm,
So it was like like first or second time they said they had ever played it. Just the
yeah,
experience of seeing something like that in person before it's out in the world,
right, right,
whether however big it gets, because that one got huge. But
right.
it's fascinating to see kind of that come together, and that
Yeah,
presents this is that setting where the artist ideas are born and fans can see those ideas born, and that's really cool.
right, right. No, I completely agree.
Um, so when you were trying to put the first Song City together, um, how difficult was it trying to sell the artists on this idea and trying to bring in fans?
That's a really great question. Um, it wasn't, as far as the artists were concerned. I think that it was. not too difficult because I feel like at that point, and this would have been 5-ish years ago, um, there was not as many places and as many opportunities to play in general, as there are now. I look at my own schedule, and I'm missing shows all the time because there's just so many choices,
Mhm.
which is probably a good and bad thing. I'm certainly happy for the artists, to have lots of places to play. That's what we always want for them. But for the audience, it's hard to actually get to all the different possible places you could go and different people you could hear. So I think at that point, the artists didn't have as many opportunities, but more importantly, I think that they were yearning at that point to have some situations where um, they really felt like people were there not to just talk and drink and whatever, but to really really hear all the work that they had put into their songs. And that's not just for singer songwriters. That's for people that are in bands and for hip hop artists and different kinds of artists that I think feel like a lot of the work that they put into their songs is not really noticed when you're at a club someplace.
Oh yeah.
You're in the energy and it's an amazing moment, but you're probably missing some really clever phrase that they spent hours on. You know what I mean? And we don't hear it because the bass dropped at that point and we were all in it, and it was a different kind of experience. So I think that, like I said, especially for the non-singer songwriters, the people that are playing in bands and that kind of thing, I think they felt really happy and appreciated about being part of something where um, you could hear a pin drop and people want to hear really what was behind the song and really want to hear every detail of it. Um, so I think that they felt good. I think they felt really excited about that situation. Um, and I don't think at that point there were as many of those types of opportunities. There's a bunch of different kinds of singer-songwriter events now, which is so great. Um, that there are so many. There's the Luna series, which happens up here at Mount Ida, that's got amazing atmosphere and amazing artists. And you've got Lena Go Round that Aaron does uh, at Lena in Saratoga.
Oh yeah.
There's amazing ones that are done at Mojo's. There's all these different really great events going on for songwriters now. That's really refreshing. So, but I think at that point there weren't as many, and I think that everybody was kind of happy about having something new to go to and a new kind of experience.
No, that's awesome. Um, and it just reminded me, I went to Troy Music Hall for the one and only time I've been there, maybe just a couple of years ago, to see Brian Fallon from Gaslight Anthem
Yeah,
solo show acoustic.
yep.
Sat front row, and it was just mesmerizing because it was like you just said, watching an artist in his element. You could hear a pin drop. He
Hmm.
talked about the songs. I'm like, this is pure awesomeness
Yeah, yeah,
to see something
yeah.
like this.
Right, right. No, I totally agree. Yeah.
How have the how has it grown since you first started? I assume the fans have been into it the more that Song City has gone out there and has become known.
Yeah, yeah, it's grown, and it's expanded in an interesting way because when you put on a showcase that has different artists at each one, um, you you've got kind of a balance of two different groups. You've got groups that people that are coming because they're fans of Song City and they trust that even if they don't know who these artists are, that it's that they trust our taste and that they know that when they come it's going to be a really good um, choice of artists. Even if they don't know them, they're coming no matter what.
Mhm.
And then you've got obviously the people that are big Ryan Clark fans or big Girl Blue fans, or that love to go see them, but get excited when they get to see them in a different kind of setting like this. So, um, so yeah, the crowd has certainly continued to grow because of both of those groups. And I found that actually one of the most noticeable differences in crowds, and I've just begun to kind of figure this out, is you often have a really big artist that plays, and you would think, oh, that's going to bring in a lot of people because they're a huge artist in the area. Um, but most of the time, huge artists in the area also play out a lot. It's
Hmm.
probably how they got to where they are,
Yeah.
so people have a lot of opportunities to see them. um the the people, the magical moments, as far as bringing people in, a lot of times is the artists that are really great and hardly ever play out, and then all of a sudden you find out that this particular artist is playing a show, and not only are they playing a show, but they're playing something interesting and intimate like this. um, and they all come out for it because they don't get that many opportunities to see the artist. So um yeah, it's really grown in really great ways and incredibly satisfying.
No, that's awesome. Like we said, it's this kind of event, Sun City. It's just a unique experience. This is not the touring show after show types of things that artists do. This is kind of like always a special event, one off, planned
Yeah.
acoustic, intimate setting where you get to know the artist, you see the stories behind it. And one of the things I really like is from following Song City on social media, you certainly make an effort to make it eclectic with each edition.
Mhm.
Like again, we're talking about Girl Blue, Ryan Clark, Cameron 5000 hip hop, Sabrina Trueheart, singer songwriter. Girl
Yep.
Blue, also kind of a singer songwriter, but a slightly different tone than Sabrina, I think. Uh,
Absolutely.
Ryan, pop, country. It's you're covering a lot of ground with just these four artists. So to get fans of those, maybe just the specific artists in that room, and then to experience the other local artists that may develop an interest in, that's an awesome. That's just an awesome thing.
Yeah, yeah, I that's to me, yeah, that's the magic of it, is all those different genres, and hearing hearing the work that they've put into this performance because of how special this type of venue is and this type of program is. And the artists really put some time into, especially the non-singer songwriter artists, um, are kind of forced into, you know figuring out, how am I going to do this? I want to do this, but how do I do this? For instance, a perfect example is last season, local hip hop artist Shiloh the Messenger, who's really, really great. I had asked him to play, and and he said, that sounds good. And he said, what have the other hip hop artists done? And I said, well, some had brought tracks, which is not my preference, but sometimes that's just what they have to work with. Some have brought kind of their own equipment that they'll take care of, and some of them have brought just a guitarist or whatever. He said, okay, that's good to know. And he said, I'm going to bring along a guitarist, acoustic guitarist. It's just going to be just him rapping over, the acoustic guitar. I said, that's beautiful. Great. And he shows up and he's setting up for sound check. And he says, I got thinking, since I was about 3 years old, I've been playing steel drums. My grandfather was a famous steel drum player, um, where he grew up, and he said, I've been doing it for 25 years now, playing steel drums. I've never played out before, and I just thought maybe that would be kind of an interesting element to to throw into this.
Wow.
And I thought, that's great. I mean, anytime what someone says, I haven't actually played this before out, that makes you a little nervous, but I said, that's great. Go for it. And it was, I can honestly say, was one of my favorite moments of all 4 seasons of Song City was him. And he was a brilliant steel drum player.
Hmm.
Um, and just him, an acoustic guitar player, and he's rapping over that, and during the musical sections he's playing steel drums, and it was, people were just in awe of what was going on. And that's so great for him, because it kind of forced him into this new form of self-expression and musical expression. And it's also really great for the audience, because how many of those people that came there are probably not hip hop fans and would probably never go to like a hip hop club at some big show at No Fun or someplace like that, you know?
Yeah.
But they come to Song City and they hear Shiloh the Messenger with his steel drums and his acoustic guitar player, and they think, "Oh, this I get this. Yeah, I get this." Now, will they go to a hip hop club after this? Probably not. But their knowledge and love for that expression and style of music has just been turned on for them, and they had
Yeah.
no idea what was behind it, you know? So I really love when those moments happen where they're kind of forced into reinventing themselves a little bit, um, to fit it. And they're just so sensitive to it, which I really appreciate.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, those are the kind of experiences I live for when I go to shows. Like I make it a point to get there to check out opening bands cuz especially if it's not somebody I've heard of cuz I've picked up on a lot of great stuff from just doing that. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
um and putting artists in this kind of environment where they feel safe. They want to talk about their songs and the story behind it. They want to talk to these other artists to spark ideas. That's awesome to be
yeah.
there and witness that. Again, the next Song City is coming up November 11th. Girl Blue, Ryan Clark, Camtron 5000, Sabrina Trueheart. We just talked about Shiloh being one of your favorite performances you've seen. What are some of your others over the last
Oh,
4 years?
man, that's a good one. Um, Yeah, I really love certainly the hip hop artists have really just risen um to the moment. Ozzy did the same thing, and JB, aka Dirty Moses. Just all these, we've probably had 6 or 7 different hip hop artists that have done it, and that is always really great. A wonderful band called the Dust Bowl Fairies, which are out of kind of southern New York, and they're kind of a goth gypsy type of alternative group, and
Interesting.
they've played a couple different times. And he plays acoustic guitar. She sings and often plays the saw with a bow, like a real
Oh,
saw.
okay.
Um, they're really incredibly, really enchanting at what they do. Um, Reese Fulmer, who may be, my favorite of all singer-songwriters in the area. I just think he's
He's
brilliant.
he's like a one
Um,
man band, right?
Reese is incredible. I've seen him play by himself. I've seen him play with his full band. He does a lot of stuff. He just had a new album come out last week, and does a lot of stuff at Cafe Lena. I
Yeah,
think that he is always um, just really incredibly um, brilliant. Uh, yeah, there's so many. My friend Patrick Sharo, who's Schenectady, grew up in Schenectady playing music. He and I used to play music, and he was one of those artists that moved down to Nashville about 10 years ago, and he came back and played something. And actually, to his credit, he just 2 weeks ago it was announced that he was he was the first artist signed to Ryan Adams' Paxam record label. And Ryan
really?
Adams is a huge artist and has
Yeah.
never signed anybody, and just signed Patrick to his label,
No, I was a
which
big
is
Ryan Adams fan. Yeah,
oh, me too. I love that. So that's exciting to see,
I've got some
a
of his
guy that,
vinyls behind me.
yeah. Yeah. I've been back in to all the Ryan Adams stuff again lately. Um, so that's really, those moments, where it's an artist that I heard play a Beatles song at 10 years old on the piano, and now he's in Nashville and signed to Ryan Adams label as an artist. Those are really heartwarming times,
That's
to see
awesome.
that kind of thing happen.
So, how much effort goes into trying to plan these shows these days for you?
Yeah, they're fun. They're really fun to put the time into it. So I really don't mind it. Um,
Yeah, we've talked a
I
lot
mean,
about the enjoyability and the experience, but how much work actually goes into putting this together?
Yeah, it's a lot. It begins with, going through the schedule and starting to figure out who's playing. And I take that really seriously. So that takes a lot of time to not just choose, because we have so many different people that could play and we can't choose them all. So picking out who can play, and then really putting a lot of time into what four at a time are playing, and what different genres work together, and really trying to kind of picture um, them in a Song City environment, and picturing what they're doing and how it's going to sound, and what order even they're in. I get really picky about things like the order of, what artist is going to go well into the next artist, and what artist is going to open the show really well or close the show well, and all those kinds of things. Um, and then obviously there's the publicity side, which again I enjoy doing, but is certainly um, a lot of work, putting together all the publicity and posters, and
Mhm.
social media, all the things that you
Oh
know
man,
so much about also.
social media is almost it is a full time job. If you want to
Yeah,
promote something, it is
yeah,
it's practically a full time job.
it really is. And fortunately there's so much going on in this area musically. Um, there's just so much, but that also means that you're trying to figure out how your event is going to be seen, amongst all these other different things that are going on, um, and not wanting to get lazy with your own marketing and that kind of thing. And then certainly when you get to the couple days before the show, then that obviously there's setup involved, and all those types of things to make it happen. So yeah, I wish it was my full-time job. It'd be a great full-time job, but it is certainly my passion project for sure. And so I love every minute of it. But yeah, it's a lot of thought, and a lot of sensitivity to different artists, and figuring out how it's all going to work together. So yeah, it's a
Awesome.
lot.
Yeah, I have no doubt. And to top that off, I want to ask about this the ink retreat writing sessions.
Yeah.
So this is for artists, a collaborative environment for them to work on their music. Is this a continuing thing? I think the last one was earlier this month, around October 14th. What exactly are these?
So the ink retreats are, and we've had two of them so far. Um, and they really grew out of a desire by local songwriters to just have time to get away, and both have some alone time in writing, and also have some time to work with other writers, and collaborate, and kind of be inspired by each other, and to kind of grow community that way also. So 2 years ago, 3 years ago I should say, um, we did the first one and held it, both the two that we've done, we held out in at Silver Bay, which is up on northern Lake George.
Okay.
And we rent a lodge out there, and people apply, and we choose 10 artists, and the 10 artists come in, and like Song City, they're kind of a mix of genres, and a mix of maybe experience levels, and really we spend 3 or 4 days together. We have uh, food there. We have Melanie O'Malley from O'Malley's Oven, which is a great bakery here in town, comes up and does all the food on site for it. Um, we had a small studio set up with an engineer down on the first floor, so that others are writing. They have a place to um, book some studio time and sign up for studio time, and begin to kind of get a demo together of what they're writing. And it's really become a wonderful thing, for all these artists. And it's always fun to see the songs that come out of these, and begin to hear albums come out that have these songs that you can remember the moment where we were sitting in front of the fire, and they played the opening
Oh wow.
verse to
Yeah,
some song.
that's gonna
um,
be
it,
awesome.
it's really, really a powerful moment. Um, and it's great to see the songs come out of it. It's even better to see the relationships come out of it, because a lot of times they don't necessarily know each other. And to see relationships come out of that, um, there's a few different examples that I can think of, but um, one that just comes to mind this first time was uh, Camtron 5000. Cameron came to the last Ink retreat along with nine other writers, and we got maybe a day and a half or so into the retreat, and we'll have breakfast together, and they'll we do kind of a mandatory morning walk, and we kind of go out as Rick Rubin would push in his book. We go out for a morning walk and kind of begin to think through songs and phrases and topics and talk with other writers. And uh and then they had the rest of the day to write. And he was working on a couple different songs, and another artist, her name is Areli, and she's this amazing pop singer, but she comes from a opera background and is an incredible opera singer.
Oh wow.
And she was also on the retreat. And about halfway through the retreat, um, I saw Cam, and I said, it would be really incredible, just like super dramatic, if it would ever work out. I said, wouldn't it be incredible for you to write a song with Areli, and to be able to have you do the verses and then have this opera vocal part come in and sing the chorus, and it just sounds really incredibly dramatic, and might be a powerful thing. And
That
I
does
just went
sound
on, but
awesome.
I just went on with what I was doing. And later that afternoon, I go downstairs to where the studio is, and Cam and Aurelie are sitting across from each other, just beginning to work on stuff. And they just wrote this incredible song. It was actually, I don't know if you watched or went to this past the Eddies, the
Mhm.
big awards that they give out each year.
Yeah.
Um, and they actually ended up playing this song at the Eddies. They performed it, the two of them, along with costumes and dancers, and it was this incredible, really incredible moment. And it was just so satisfying to watch that, and just to kind of remember, that picture of just them sitting across from each other down in the studio, beginning to kind of work on something, and then to see it full blown at the Eddies with all this drama and costumes. And um, it's really great to see
Wow.
artists work together like that. So I love the genres working together, people meeting each other, people investing into each other, learning from each other is what makes all of it so worthwhile.
Yeah, that's a real awesome full circle moment right there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, Ink is great. We'll have another one coming up next fall, and I can't wait for it. So
Yeah, that sounds great. Um, so let's go over a lot of stuff before I have a fun question to wrap things up. Again, the upcoming Song City, November 11th. People can get tickets at songcity.com, unless I'm mistaken, right?
yep,
Yep.
exactly.
$20 in advance, or you can get them $25 at the door. Uh, the waterfront at Troy. I forgot the name of it already. I apologize.
The waiting room there,
The
the
waiting
waiting room.
room.
Yep.
It started with a W. I was
Yeah,
close.
no, it's good. The waiting. Yeah.
The waiting room in Troy. So go to songcity.com, $20 in advance. The waiting room the day of, $25. Girl Blue, Camtron 5000, Ryan Clark, Sabrina Trueheart, awesome local lineup. And again, these are all local musicians you have on these.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, because
yep,
just the tri-state area we live in is just overflowing with talent. It really
yep,
is. Songcity.com also for ink, correct?
yep, yep.
Yeah. I feel like there was something I was forgetting, but I think that was that. uh,
Yeah, yeah, that's coming up. And also O'Malley's Oven, that bakery that does the food for us at Inc. She'll be there also offering food at Song City. So there's great food to eat. Me and Max will be there with great
yes.
beer. So it's a full circle.
No, that's awesome. Uh, and now that we have the business stuff out of the way, fun question to wrap things up. So, other than the four awesome artists we're talking about for November 11th,
Yep,
again, Girl Blue, Ryan Clark, Camtron, Sabrina,
yep.
what are you currently listening to?
That's a great, great question. I really love. I'm a huge Wilco fan. So the new Jeff Tweedy album that just came out is a triple album.
That's a
I always
that's a lot of music.
I struggle with double and triple albums, I admit, because I want lots from these artists that I love, and at the
I
same time, I can
I've
never get through it all, and I don't learn the songs well. But
I Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness set me up for double albums in a way that nothing's ever lived up to.
mhm, mhm. I can understand that. I can understand that.
That was an album where I went out at midnight and got it,
Yeah, yeah,
and it
yeah.
still holds up, man.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm listening to that. I'm listening to the new Brandy Carlisle, which Aaron Dessner produced, and it's so good. Um, And what else am I listening to? I mean, I like the new Taylor. I'm a fan of Taylor. I was a kind of a folklore Evermore fan,
I
more
agree.
than the other
Those
stuff.
were I was a big Evermore fan. That's the only album I listen to on a consistent basis of hers. Not that
Yeah,
I disliked anything else. It's just the singer-songwriter aspect, working with Jack
yeah.
Antonoff, it just all flowed.
Yeah, yeah, and she worked with Aaron Dessner on that one also, and Jack, and that was actually done at the same studio right up here in Kinderhook, not that far from here,
Really?
where
Okay.
Aaron Dessner's album is, where his studio is, and it's yeah, 45 minutes from here is where Evermore and uh, all those two Taylor albums and the new one from Brandy and the last Ed Sheeran album. There's a lot of stuff coming out
I
of
wanna
his
say I
his
was just
studio.
reading the new Florence and the Machine album. She recorded a couple songs in the Hudson
She
Valley
did.
region. Yeah.
Yep. 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 So, and I really love that. I'm trying to think. I feel like there's something else. Oh, you know what is just came out, but it's really great is Bruiser and Bicycle. Are you aware of them? They're
I'm not.
kind of a semi-local band. They actually just did a show. Was it last week? Maybe locally, and at Hangar on the Hudson. And they're just a really, really just exciting, eclectic band. And their new album, Bruiser and the Bicycle, just came out last week. So those are the things right now. I'm a big podcast listener too, so I have to kind of split my time, between the two.
That's
But
fair.
yeah.
So I assume I'm right at the top of that list, so we're gonna
Well,
move on.
obviously, obviously.
Obviously.
Actually, it's funny because I did go back and listen to a bunch of them because there were some early ones that I hadn't listened to. I remember actually the first episode I heard of yours was at the Whiskey Pickle, the one that you did with James and Aaron at the Whiskey
Oh, okay.
Pickle, and I think this was that was
I've
I
been
feel
doing
like it
this a
was
while now.
one of your first few ones, I think.
Oh, yeah, and
But
I've not gotten any better, but that's fine.
well, I
I
don't
still
know.
enjoy it. Uh, I you know what? I've been listening to a lot of pop punk recently. Again,
Yeah.
that's been my bread and butter. But there's been a new Yellow Card album, which I was always a big Yellow Card fan.
Hmm. Hmm.
All Time Low. They just put out a new album, I think last week, that
Hmm.
I've been listening to, and that's got some real standout tracks on it. Uh, I didn't listen to that. I was a fan of them early, didn't listen to them for a long time, and then got back into them. And then this band Free Friends that I know from Baltimore, I've had them on the
Okay.
podcast. They just put out their debut album in the last couple weeks, so I've been
Okay.
jamming to that. So big pop punk kick right now. I was on a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
hair metal sleaze rock kick as I was watching Peacemaker on HBO. Uh,
Right.
for anybody, and I still put that playlist on when I'm at work sometimes. But those are the three albums I've been listening to a lot lately.
Right. Right. That's great. That's great.
But and again, the four awesome artists that we talked about for November 11th. But I think that's a wrap on this episode of Stories from a Bar. So, Scott, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out, have a beer, chat. This has been super fun.
Yeah, it's been so good. I appreciate all the work that you've done. Boy, I can't imagine the work that goes into putting however many. I mean, you have a ton. You have a ton. I was
I,
scrolling back. You've got a lot. Do you know how many? How many do you have?
I don't remember. It's in the mid 70s,
Yeah.
but and that is doing one at best every month, maybe every other month. I've taken a
Yeah.
lot of breaks, so I've been doing this for a number of years, technically.
Yeah.
But when you work two jobs and this is your, you can't fit not a lot of time for hobbies.
Yeah. I feel that. I feel that. No, but it's great. So thank you for everything that you're doing to bring music and good beer podcasting to the Capital District for
It's
sure.
true. I have forgotten a lot of these episodes because of that beer. That's how good that beer has been. Uh, if you haven't done it yet, go get your tickets for Song City, November 11th. Event in Troy, New York, featuring Girl Blue, Ryan Clark, Camtron 5000, Sabrina Trueheart. You can go do that at songcity.com, as well as go into the website to check out future upcoming events when they're announced. Of course, follow Song City on Instagram, as well as the artist we just talked about. I'm doing it. You should be doing it too. If you're not doing it yet, but I'm sure you are because you're listening to this. Anything else you want to throw in?
No, that covers it. Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
Huge thank you to everyone out there for checking out the show. You can, of course, follow Stories from a Bar on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Stories FAB. I still don't call it X. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to do anything that makes Elon Musk happy at this point.
Good for you.
Yeah. Uh, so do that to follow the show, keep up with everything that's going on. You can find Stories from a Bar on all major podcast platforms. Like, subscribe. More importantly, share the hell out of it. It's good for
Mhm.
me. It's good for the people I talk to, the musicians, the breweries. If you're into the area, share the podcast. Listen, it's greatly appreciated, not just by me, but by everybody that's been on it. So thank you. And until next time, cheers.